Hi students, so let's go over your individual presentation. So the presentations are starting soon and you would have now collected all of the information that you need in order to do your presentation. A reminder that the data you collect is to disprove the statements, I waste my money and my time. So you are required to track that over a 2-month period. And then you're required to summarize your data and then compare them to the original, your planned. You're required to draw conclusions and to use that data to disprove or to prove the statements. You'll be assessed on how well you use the data and the quantitative reasoning to disprove your statements. You must use real data rather than made-up data. You will not be judged on your budgets and the real expenses of your time allocation or expenditure, but you will be marked on how you use the data to disprove or disprove the statements. So the data on your poster should cover both your money and your time. And you must hand in the raw data for both your money and your time. However, when it comes time to present, you will only focus on one aspect. So either I waste my time or I waste my money. But as I say, your poster and your data must contain both. So what you have to cover as an individual, you must say why the statement is true or false. You must summarize the comparison of the budgets compared with reality and what you actually did. You must use the data to disprove or prove the statement and show evidence of the budget and the summary of the weekly recording of the time or your expenses in graphs and tables. And you must apply statistics to further strengthen your arguments. And then you must reflect on the learning you achieved through using data and quantitative reasoning to disprove the statements. So this is important on the learning that you achieved. So what you have to hand in when you present is your marking rubric, the poster with the summary of the evidence of the budget and the weekly recording of times. And this must include your graphs, your tables. And then you can hand in any supporting materials or evidence that does not fit on the poster. And then your original budget and the weekly recording of time and expenses. So those are also your big A3 documents that you need to hand in with it. So that is what you have to cover when you present. Let's go have a look at the marking rubric, which is also in the study guide. So 50% of the mark will be on how you present. We're looking at eye contact, physical presence, visual aids, and this isn't PowerPoint, it's your poster. So did the poster help and support? Was it neatly done? Is the relevant information on there? Is it easy to read? And then I would suggest for the poster as well that the minimum size is an A3. Otherwise, it's a piece of paper. So we're looking for A3 and bigger. And then your delivery. So were you at ease? Did this enhance the presentation? Did you display confidence? Remember, we're doing the DUT graduates attribute number 3. We're assessing you on effective communication skills. So don't just focus on what you're presenting, focus on how you're presenting. And then 50% will be on what you're saying. So how well are you using data and quantitative reasoning to disprove or to prove the statements? And here we're looking at 3 things. We're looking at the math, which is your graphs, percentages, statistics. We're looking at critical thinking, which is using the numbers in your argument. And we're looking at real world. So how real is your data? If you're not sure what quantitative reasoning is, you're welcome to go and browse the internet and find further information about what it is. Here's one definition of quantitative reasoning. That is the application of basic mathematics skills such as algebra or statistics to the analysis and the interpretation of real-world quantitative information in the context of a discipline that's relevant to the students in their daily lives. So it's not just mathematics, it's how you use it in your argument. Here's a nice example of what quantitative or QR reasoning is. It's the intersection of maths, critical thinking, and real world problems. And you're wasting your money and your time is the real world problem coming in. So you must make sure you include real world math as well as critical thinking. So in other words, only you can explain your data. You would know if you're spending your money wisely and you still have enough money at the end, or if you're hungry during the semester and during the month because you're spending all of your money up front on takeaways and not on groceries, or if the time that you're spending on your modules is sufficient because you're actually still passing. Okay, so that is the real world stuff we want coming in. So that is how you're going to be assessed. So let's look at some of the data that you've got. This is the weekly tracking of the time that you can add to it and include it. We want to see this complete up until week 7. Okay, so if you do up until week 7, you'll have in total 8 weeks or 2 months worth of data that you can use, as well as 2 months worth of reflections, and the same with the weekly tracking of the time. So what I suggest you do, instead of having week 8, you cross that out and write total, and then you can add up for your time the total spent in class, the total spent out of class, and next to it you can put the total combined. So let's have a look at some of the things you can do with the data. This is what we've gone and done. There's all of the modules that you registered for. There's a total of the time that you spent inside class and a total of the time you spent outside of class, and then the total combined. So this, after week 7, is the total hours you spent over a 2-month period. You can then very easily calculate the number of hours per month. Remember, you've got 2 months over here, 7 weeks, so you just, 8 weeks, so you just divide it by 2 because there are 4 weeks in a month, right? And then here we're just taking this and dividing it by 8 to give us the average hours per week. Okay, and then we can compare this to the notional hours. So if you remember way back in your study guide, and if you had to scroll towards the end over here, you've got your budget that you can use for the money. We also had you do your time planner, where you had to do the module name, the module code, what HEQSF level it is, how many credits, continuous assessment. You then did the notional hours per semester, and remember, notional hours is the number of credits multiplied by 10, and it's the amount of time that the average student needs to spend on this module or any module in order to be able to pass. So you then can calculate your notional hours per week, okay, and then compare this to the contact hours in class and the expected hours outside of class. So if you had to go back to the diagram over here, this is directly taken from it. It's 10 hours per week for a 12 credit, 6 hours, 40 minutes for an 8 credits. And then per month, it's just per week times by 4. And then here, most important is the total after 7 weeks of lectures. Remember, your notional hours does not include the mid-semester break. Okay. So only use 7 weeks over here. And then you can compare how long you've spent in terms of actual hours, semester hours, lecture hours over the 7 weeks plus the 1 week mid-semester break. So here you can see this student for all of the subjects is spending far more hours than the notional hours required. And the same applies for even the 8 credit modules. So the question is the student wasting their time or not? Well, you would know your data, and this is where the real world comes in. Are you doing well in these modules? Are you actually a straight A student and you're spending more time on these modules in order to be able to get your distinction? Or are you spending more time on these modules just to be able to pass? Are you using your time wisely? Have you looked at effective studying techniques or working with friends, studying with friends in order to reduce the amount of time. Because if you're spending so much time in your university stuff, you would have a very poor work-life balance because there would be no life with this, which means you're going to burn yourself out and you're actually not going to be doing that well. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep as well, and not enough healthy exercise and not enough socializing with other people. Here's another student after the 8 weeks that they recorded. You can see here they had 71, which is close to the notional hours. For business fundamentals, it's actually less. So how are they doing in business fundamentals? Are they doing better? If they're failing or doing poor, well, the reason is they're actually spending less than the notional hours required. So they need to be putting more hours into this module in order to be able to do better in it. However, if they pass in this module and they're spending less time on it, then that's actually a good thing. And here you can see with the ICTL, they're actually spending close to the notional hours. And then you also need to look at the assessments. So Me, My World, for example, I would expect the time to be a bit less because the work that you're putting in with the Blackboard learning exercise and the presentations and the group stuff is starting to happen now. So if we go back to how you're being assessed, remember it's how well are you using math, how well are you using critical thinking, and how well and how real is the data? Do you understand your data? Do you know why you're spending more time or more money on things? And then really to reflect on it. So to go back over here, you have to reflect on the learning that you've achieved through using data and quantitative reasoning to disprove your statements. And a reminder, please, you have to hand in your poster before you present so that we can see it, as well as your original budget and weekly recording of time and expenses. If you do not have this, you will not be allowed to present and you will get 0 for your presentation mark. Please make sure you arrive with the correct material and make sure you have your marking rubric. Good luck with your presentations.